Welcome to the Tool Review channel. Today we're taking a look at the Klein Tools High Leverage Diagonal Cutting Pliers. Now these are the heavy duty version of these diagonal cutting pliers. You can buy them in a standard version or the heavy duty version, which you are seeing here. And these are also the 8-inch version of the diagonal cutters as well. So the one thing that you are going to be able to tell is different from the standard diagonal cutters is these have blue handles, where the standard ones have like a red dipped handles to them, and these are blue dipped handles instead of the standard comfort grip handles. As you can see on the tool right here, you have your Klein Tools logo and name stamped on the tool right there, and then established 1857. You have your model number right there, which is D2000-28, and then made in the USA at the bottom of there. And then you also have some safety warnings on the tool right there. And then I believe this H1 is when this tool was manufactured. And as you can see, my joint has plenty of lubrication, because when I actually first picked up these pliers, they were actually super stiff and I had a hard time moving them. So I did oil them up and actually got them fairly loose. And as you can see right here, you have the G4, which I believe is the type of steel used to make these pliers. And then coming to this side, it's relatively the exact same, just nothing laser etched onto the tool. And as you can see, there is your opening right there as well. But overall, that is the overall look of the tool. Now we'll get to some of the functionality of these pliers. So like I said, these are the heavy duty pliers, so you should be able to cut through ACSR, screws, nails, and most hard wire. I don't know if these will cut through piano wire. I wouldn't recommend trying to cut through piano wire with these, but most hard wires, these should be able to cut through no problem without damaging the cutting edge on there. And like I said, you should be able to cut through screws and nails, which we're going to test out some screws here in a minute. So we're going to start off with, we're going to bring in some 14 gauge stranded wire. These theoretically should have no problem cutting through this wire. And as you can see, cuts through the 14 gauge stranded wire, no problem. So we'll set that off to the side, and we will bring in some 12 gauge stranded wire. I don't think this wire is going to be very much of a problem for these. And as you can see, cuts through the 12 gauge stranded wire, no problem right there. So now we're going to bring in some 10 gauge stranded wire and see how well we can cut through this. And as you can see, with that high leverage design, it's super easy to cut through this wire. You barely have to use any effort to cut through it, which is nice. And it cuts through the 10 gauge stranded wire, no problem whatsoever. So we'll set that off to the side, and we will bring in some 14 gauge solid wire, and we'll give this a cut and see how well this tool can handle it. And as you can see, it has no problem whatsoever cutting the 14 gauge solid wire, which is super nice. Now we're going to bring in some 12 gauge solid wire, and we're going to give that a cut and see how well this tool can handle it. And as you can see, it has no problem cutting through the 12 gauge solid wire. So now we're going to up the ante a little bit, and we're going to bring in some 14 gauge, some 14-2 with ground Romex wire, and see if this tool can cut through it. So we're just going to go to this end right here, and as you can see, cuts through the 14-2 Romex wire. No problem whatsoever, which is nice. So as you can see, does a fairly decent job cutting through that Romex right there. So now we're going to bring in some 12 gauge or some 12-2 Romex with ground. So there's 3 wires in total in there, and we'll see how well you can cut through this. You're definitely going to have to use quite a bit of force to get through the 12 gauge solid wire, or when you're cutting 3 of them, I should say. You're going to have to use a little bit more force, but as you can see, these have no problem cutting through that wire right there. And as you can see, there's no real damage done to the cutting edge. You can't really see my finger in the background, but there is no light or gaps coming through that cutting edge. All you can see is just some powderized copper from the cutting. So now we're going to bring in some 18 gauge solid wire, some 18-5 solid wire, and see if this can cut through that. And as you can see, they cut through the 18-5 wire, no problem. So now we're going to clear all that out from the background, and we're going to bring in a 632 screw. Like I said, we were going to test to see how well these can cut through a screw. So this is a 632 screw, common use in electrical boxes or outlets when you're screwing it onto the box or screwing it onto the wall. You're going to typically use a screw like this, and you might not have the right size screw. It might be a little bit too long, and you might need to trim it down. So we're going to see how well these can cut through a screw. And as you can see, Definitely have to use quite a bit of force to do it, but it can cut the screw, no problem. You probably want to have it a little bit closer to the cutting edge to make it cut a little bit smoother. But as you can see, it has no problem whatsoever cutting through the 632 screw. So now we'll clear all those out of the background, and we'll bring in our final screw, which is the 832 screw, as you can see right here. And we're going to see how well these can cut through that. And as you can see, my joint, I did oil it up quite a bit. Like I said, they were super stiff when I got them. So you can just see the oil coming out of the joint right there. And we'll see how well we can cut through the 832 screw. You're definitely going to have to use quite a bit of force to do it. But as you can see, this tool has no problem cutting through that whatsoever. So we'll give it one more cut right here. And as you can see, cuts through it no problem. And I lied, we'll do another cut right there. And as you can see, you're gonna have to probably use one or two hands, but as you can see, has no problem cutting through the 832 screw whatsoever. So definitely, if you need to cut a screw, or if you need to cut through a nail, these are definitely going to be able to cut through that no problem. You might have to oil them up just a little bit to get the action to be a little bit smoother. I know some Kleins, when you got them, and like I said, this one, you do have to break them in. There is a little bit of a breaking in process. So you are gonna have to do that with some Kleins. Not all Kleins, some of them come super loose, some of them come a little bit stiff and need to be broken in. You can fix that just by oiling them up. But overall, these are definitely a nice pair of diagonal cutters from Klein Tools. These are, like I said, these are the heavy duty ones. So they are meant to cut through some of your ACSR, your nails, and screws, and some other hard wire as well. I don't have any other wire to test, but as you can see from the test performed here, they had no problem cutting through everything that I threw at them. So that's really going to do it for this review. If you are interested in picking this tool up for yourself, I will leave a link to Klein's website in the description below, and you should put an emphasis on the should be able to pick this up at your local Home Depot. But I have found that at least the Home Depots by me, these are extremely hard to find in the store. This is with the standard version. You can find the angled version like it's no problem, but it seems that the standard version is a little bit hard to find in the Home Depot store. So just check your website. You might want to give the store a call before you head down there, because all the Home Depots around by me said that they had these in stock, and I would go to the store to see if they had them in stock. They wouldn't have it in stock. It would have a bunch of the angled ones in stock. So you might want to check with your store before you go there and buy, or if you just want to stop in and see if they have it. Good luck to you. But like I said, I will leave a link to Klein's website in the description below. If you would like to pick this tool up for yourself, and on their website, it'll be able to take you to people who carry this tool online and locally if you want to pick them up. But that's all I have for this review. So if you are new to the channel, please feel free to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. And if you did enjoy this review, please feel free to give it a thumbs up as well. That would be greatly appreciated. But that's all I have for this review. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video to be uploaded.